hearing?
Oh, they have a little phone?
How you doing, Bubba? You don't see very often. Es como dicen en
The military shirts. That's right.
You can start.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Board President, board members, Dr. Isaias, and ladies and gentlemen. We're here for the public hearing on the tax rate and proposed budget for the 1920 fiscal year. Those are the two major things that we'll be going over, the proposed tax rate and proposed budget, and there will be a section for questions. So what is a district budget? We'll start with that. The district budget is an annually revised document that describes the financial performance and the detailed financial allocations made to maintain district operations for the proposed budget year. 3 budgets are legally required to be adopted by the Board of Trustees. That is the General Operating Fund, the Food Service Fund, and the Debt Service Fund. The purpose of the budget is to communicate the financial plan about the district's operations to the public, the Donna ISD Board of Trustees, and all members of the organization for each budget year. Property taxes are the funds that are levied, assessed, and collected annually for the further maintenance of public schools in the district and to pay bonds issued by the school district. And here is a breakdown of the tax rate that is being proposed. The tax rate, it is the amount of dollars levied per $100 of taxable value. The tax rate is made up of 2 different tax rates. One is the maintenance and operations, and the other one is the interest and seeking, which compose the total tax rate. Maintenance and operations is what we use for our general fund, and that is at $6.84, and the tax rate for interest and sinking is at 15 cents, 0.1583 cents, for a total tax rate or $1.2267. As a result of House Bill 3, there were some changes in the tax rate. Last year, you remember the tax rate for the school district for M&O was at $1.17. This year, it decreased to $1.684, which is a difference of about 10 cents. Interest and sinking, the district last year taxed at almost 9 cents. This year, we are making INS whole. Given the fact that we are decreasing the M&O, the taxpayers will still see a decrease in their tax rate. So we are making it whole, and we will collect enough taxes to cover the entire bond payments. At almost 16 cents, that is an increase of 7 cents. The total tax rate last year was at almost $1.26. This year will be almost at $1.23 for a net difference or decrease of 3 cents. That is what we are proposing. As a result of this, we will see a decrease in tax collections. You see there the old law, we would have collected $16.2 million for M&O, and for House Bill 3, we would have collected we will be collecting almost $15 million, for a difference of almost $1.4 million decrease. Interest and sinking, with the old law or the old tax rate, we would have collected $1.2 million. With the proposed increase, we will collect almost $2.2 million for an increase of $975,000. For total tax collections, with the old tax rate, would have been $17.5 million. This year, it will be $17 million for a decrease of $416,000. Any questions on the tax rate? Now I'm going to switch over to this document that you have there before you. That is the proposed budget. And the first item that I'll go over is a summary of the proposed budget. You have there, I'm sorry, I copied the wrong the wrong budget. Well, you have it there, let me see if this works. Get this one. Okay, so this is the summary for next year. It is just a quick snapshot of what the three funds look like. The general fund has estimated revenues of $155 million with appropriations of $153 million for an increase in a projected increase in fund balance for almost $1.9 million. For food service, we have appropriations and revenues equal each other. There's no increase in fund balance or decrease. We are proposing revenues of $12.4 million and appropriations of $12.4 million. For our debt service, we are estimating revenues at $6.5 million and appropriations at slightly over $6.5 million for a decrease in fund balance of $19,000. And this is where this is because we're increasing the tax rate. Last year, I think we had a proposed decrease in fund balance of $900,000. Now that we're making it whole, we should be breaking even at the end of the year, or hopefully building into the fund balance, which will put the district in a really good position to start considering a possible bond in the near future. The next page will go over the three. And I apologize, when I saved it, it saved only the page I was on Excel. The proposed budget there you have for the general fund. We have for local revenue, $17.7 million. For state sources, we have almost $133 million, and federal revenues at $4.6 million, for a total of $155.2 million in revenues. For expenditures, you have there the breakdown by function, if you want me to go over them. The bulk of it goes into function 11, which is instruction, for $84.5 million. This is mainly made up of salaries. And then you see the different functions there for total expenditures of $153.3 million. And we are estimated a surplus of almost $2 million that you see there. For the food service fund, we have local revenues of $289,000, state sources of $61,000, and federal sources, that's $12 million for total revenues of $12.4 million. We only have one function, 35 for food service, and that is the $12,391,990 that we are appropriating. There is no change in fund balance for this fund. For the debt service, we have local revenues of $2.3 million. This is made up of the tax collections, and we've gained here due to the increase in the tax rate. The state sources at $4.2 million for a total of $6.5 million. And we only have function 71, which is to make debt payments for $6,567,450 for a deficit of $19,405. And then there you see the totals combined for the district of the three major funds of $174 million in estimated revenues and $172 million in appropriations for a surplus of $1.8 million. Any questions?
Excellent.
I don't know how much, if you want me to go over in detail over the revenues, I have a breakdown for you there, the next page. It is the revenues for all three funds. It tells you, gives you a breakdown by property values, interest, earnings. You'll see we have a significant increase from last year. I believe we budgeted about $50,000 for interest. This year we've already recorded interest of $900,000 this year, so the pools are doing really well. So you see there the local revenues at $17 million. You see the major source of revenues for the district is from state sources at almost $133 million. This is all that, there's a booklet there.
I'm
Sorry.
looking for.
For federal sources, we get $2.5 million from SHARS reimbursements and $2.1 million from indirect cost that we get. 900,000 of that is estimated to be the indirect cost for the food service program. You have there also the revenues for the food service. And you see there, the major source is federal. You see there the breakfast program, national lunch program. Those are the two major sources of revenues, and they generate $12 million. And then the debt service fund, we get $2,339,000 from local tax collections and almost $4.2 million from the state, from IFA money, for a total revenue of $6,548,045. The next page, again, it has all three funds there for a quick view. You see there the payroll cost by major object. So the 6100s you see at the very top right here, those are the payroll costs. And then it gives you a further breakdown by function. So for payroll cost, of the total $153 million, 123 are for payroll. And then you see there the 6200 is $11 million. 6300, which is supplies and materials, is $6.7 million. Other operating or miscellaneous expenditures is at $5,600,000. For debt payments, we do have a few leases. We lease our computers. It's at almost $1.5 million. And we have capital outlay of $4.9 million. For a total budget of $153,314,956. For food service, you have the same breakdown there by payroll cost by major object. I don't know if you want me to go over it in further detail. Here is basically pretty much what I've gone over, but now it's in more detail by each fund. So this is the general fund on its own. You see there the revenues of $155 million. We have non-cash revenues, that's almost $8 million, that is from TRS on behalf. We are required to record our share of the retirement plan. So we do a revenue and we do an expense, so they end up washing off. So for total cash revenues or cash values of $147 million. You see there the assessed valuation for the 1920 school year is $1,422,582,114. The district will budget 97% of the estimated tax levy, and the proposed tax rate is at $1.2267, and the breakdown is $1.684, and $0.1583 for INS, for total tax collections of $18.2 million. We also budget $1,100,000 for prior year tax collections or delinquent taxes, and $900,000 for penalty and interest and other miscellaneous revenues. Interest revenues, again, we've seen over the past 2 years a significant increase on our interest. So we did adjust accordingly. We brought it up to $700,000. The major source of revenues is, of course, our state revenue, and you see there the two major sources are the available school fund and the foundation school program. We used ADA of 13,303. Actually, no, it's 13,143. I'd like to make that correction. On this, we use ADA of 13,143. It is projected that that will generate $3.3 million. And the same ADA, 13,143 on the foundation school program will generate $121.6 million. And the federal sources, as I went over, we get about $2.5 million from SHARS and $2.1 million from indirect cost. On the next page, you have a comparison of this year and last year's general fund only here. And you see there on revenues on the far column, on the far right column, the gray, you will see that we have an increase of $9.1 million in revenues. On expenditures, we have an increase of $5.7 million. This is primarily because of the pay increase that the board approved at the last board meeting. And other reductions, it netted out with a $5.6 million increase in expenses. Overall, there is, from last year to this year, and the amended budget here is the one that you have before you that we are amending. We have an increase here on our revenues, where we have a surplus of $3.4 million. So our net changes in fund balance of $7,761,000. The rest is just more detail on the revenues. I don't know if you want me to go over the next page. I think I will go and focus on page. This is just the same thing that I went over earlier. So if you want to go to page 11. If you want to see there the cost on the general fund for payroll, you see it there is at 80% of the total budget is made up of total of payroll. So you have that chart there for you for more information. The food service fund, again, there is no increase or decrease. There is no change in fund balance. Any questions on the food service? Or on the debt service? Excellent. Then I'm going to go over some of the highlights that are included in the general fund, which I think are fun. No. So some of the budget highlights that we want to discuss is that this budget was estimated with a decrease in enrollment and average daily attendance. The projected decrease in ADA is 162. So it's not that 303 was 142 that I changed. The tax rate decreased also as a result of House Bill 3 for maintenance and operations from $1.17 to $1.06 and then you have the decrease in the tax collections of $1.4 million. An estimated increase in state revenue of $10.5 million is also reflected in the budget. This is due to the changes from the House Bill 3. And what we did with that money, the extra money that we had already made enough reductions or enough cuts in our budget to be at a, to be at a, to break even for the year, and at that time, we had about $2 million that we thought we could use for raises. After the House Bill 3, that garnered more raises, so we used about $8 million for the pay increases, which were very generous, I believe, for teachers from 0 to 5 years. Just to recap, for anyone that wasn't here when the compensation plan was approved, teachers with 0 to 5 years of experience will receive a $4,000 pay increase. Teachers with 6 or more years of experience will receive $4,500. Administrative professionals will receive a 3.5% increase from a new midpoint. Instructional support and clerical support will receive 5% increase from a new midpoint, and auxiliary support will receive a 7% increase from a new midpoint. The estimated cost of the pay increase is over $8 million. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to talk to some of the people. I know that the day after I had bus drivers in my office asking, how much are we getting, because they see 7% and then we say a new midpoint. And it kind of skews it because it seems like it's 7%, but I've seen increases where they've been like 16%. It just depends on the equity adjustment that there was. So I'd like to report that they were very happy. The bus drivers were very happy with the amount that they're getting. It's over $2,000, so they were very pleased. We did increase our minimum to $14 for bus drivers. So I think I've heard positive things from our employees. That ate up a lot of our budget, but given that, we still have money left over. So we were able to do some things also in the budget. So we allocated to upgrade playground equipment at all campuses for this upcoming year. We're also hoping to see the cost of maybe putting shades over the playground equipment so they're able to enjoy it also, and it'll last longer as well. Also in the budget, we increase our funds for HVAC, which there is a great need for the district. So we have about $1.5 million budgeted for HVAC. There's also money in the budget for maintenance for the district, beautification, maybe getting some marquees for the campuses, working on fences. We're still working on a lot of these things, so there will be a lot of funds. You'll start seeing a lot of good things around the campuses, so I'm excited about that. This is the first budget that I proposed that I actually felt happy. For the most part, the last months I've always proposed cuts. So this was exciting, to be able to do some of these things and go around and seeing what are the needs that we need, and we have a lot of needs in our facilities. So we're looking forward to doing a lot of maintenance, upgrades, upkeep. Also, of course, in instruction with new initiatives that we'll have. When we discuss of the compensation plan, there's new stipends that were being considered, I think, that are generous, and I think they'll have hopefully good results, or it'll be a good initiative to have good results. So I'm very happy and pleased to propose this budget. And even with all that we're planning on spending, we still have about $2 million that we think we'll have in surplus that we could actually do the fund balance. So yay!
Very good job.
Any questions?
I just want to thank, obviously Ms. Cancino and the business office and everybody working hard really to make this happen, because if you remember, this was a promise kept, right? We talked about, and obviously with your support and your approval, we wanted to give our staff, our teachers a great raise, but also, a pay increase, but also we knew about the need in our schools, so we also promised them that we're gonna take care of the campuses and to improve it, make it better, make it, beautification, I guess, it's the terminology that we have to use. So we want to thank you for your support and everything that making it happen, but we're gonna be able, with this budget, to accomplish all that stuff this year, thanks to you.
Yes, so it'll be exciting this coming year. So. Any questions from the public? Yay! And that concludes my part.
Thank you, Ms. Hansina.
Thank you.
Are we taking a break?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna start right at 6, so 5 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so anybody's see if it's
I'm 5 minutes every day.
Remember, I'm meeting this.
Oh, on Friday. When did you do? Before the March. Major, but I went there. So I think that's it. This is the first budget that I present with.
The time is 6 o'clock. I call this meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing, please, for a moment of silence. Thank you. Next on the agenda is business and finance. Number 1, consideration and approval of the compensation plan. Is there a motion?
He's going to talk about it. Yes, we have it here for you, for your review. If you have any questions on
Just-
it, I can.
Let me just
Yes, sir.
say a few things. I guess Mrs. Watts and board members and staff, there are a few things that we keep in mind. We have to, remember we had the SBA did the salary study, and so then they came back with recommendation. That's the conversation about equity pay, or equity pay adjustment based on market. So we had to go back, and Ms. Cancino was talking earlier about the new midpoint. She keep repeating the new midpoint, because we had to use what DESB recommended based on the market, salaries. And so we had to go back and adjust all these, minimum point, midpoint, maximum point, to make sure that we are very competitive as far as our compensation. So all this stuff was redone, or revamped based on the TASB recommendations. So that's why we're talking about our teachers and our staff getting more than like the 5% sometimes, or the 7%, because we also do an equity adjustment based on TASB recommendation.
So everything's coming from tax.
Right, the changes from TASB are starting on page 13. You will see the administrative program job group. Those have been updated to reflect what you had previously approved when we approved the compensation, the pay increase, so you'll see that on the next few pages. So all that, it goes from page 13
Yes.
through page 26. All that is the new TASB recommendations. And these are the ones that we shared with you when we approved the pay increase.
Yes.
These are the same tables. They're just reformatted to look like our compensation plan. but it's still the same information. Also, the other part would be on page 42, that's the new teacher hire guide. It is also the one that was board approved when we did the payment. Those were the tax rate recommendations.
And the bus also schedule, you mentioned that. So there's the teacher new pay scale that will be following, and also the bus drivers. Remember, our bus drivers, when they used to be capped, when they get 10 years of experience, they get this, doesn't matter if they have 15, 20 years of experience, they get the same salary. So we also extended that. So there is no, that 10-year cap is no longer exists. Again, that's also bringing some equity to our compensation to our bus drivers.
As far as changes in other stipends?
Yes, I can talk about that too, Ms. Cancino. On page 27, I don't know if you remember with bilingual, Mr. Ariano had worked with the committee of teachers and discussed the different options. In the previous year, if you had to have 50% of your students or higher, they need to be bilingual students, right? So ELS students, in order for them to get the $1,000 stipend. So if they are 49 or 45 or 40, you get nothing pretty much. So there is an adjustment now where everybody with 10% and 1%, you see at the table on page 27. So teachers will get some kind of stipend. They will may not get the full $1,000, but they will get, I guess, an adjusted amount based on the percentage of their students who are ELL or bilingual students. So that's also a good news for our bilingual teachers who have fewer than 50% of their students, because you will see some kind of stipend, right? So that's also something that we're very happy that we're able to give to our teachers. Another thing on page 31, and I want to just bring that to your attention. 31, one of the major changes also we're proposing hopefully for your approval, is all the way in the bottom page where over turnaround principal stipend, there's an A rating campus. So we're proposing right now our campus principals, if they get a meet requirement or meet standard rating their campus, they get a $1,000 stipend. What we're proposing is, if you are a principal and you are actually you bring your campus to an A, make it an A campus, you get another $2,000 stipend. Your AP, CSs will get $1,000, and we miss teachers. Our teachers also will get a stipend. Every teacher in that campus will receive a $500 stipend also. So that's something is missing there. I want to make sure to if we decide to approve it, we'll approve it as was discussed. So every person at that campus, like our teachers, they get a $500. Our CS will get or assistant principal will get $1,000, and our principal will get a $2,000 stipend if they become an A rating campus. So that's to recognize their effort, obviously. So that's another. I want to make sure to bring that to your attention. That's another major adjustment or addition, I guess, we added. So, and we did not reduce any stipends. Anything that we're discussing is actually an increase. So we're going to see more of our teachers and staff actually getting stipends or getting more money as far as the amount. There were also other stipends for CTE that we all know how our CTE department is really under Mr. Moreno. Our CTE teachers and staff are working very hard. So we want to also acknowledge and recognize their effort and what they're going above and beyond. So there are some adjustments that were proposed by the CTE department and with Mr. Moreno, and he does have the funds. Everything that we propose we do have the funds for it. So we check before we put anything on this compensation plan that we have the funds to execute it.
Dr. Izzy, on the teacher attendance one,
Yes.
I know last year we did 400 and then 800 in the spring. We switched on that to 400, 400.
No. Look at good question now. If you look at it, it's 400 for the fall, 400 for the spring. But if you all year, you get another $400. So it's a total of $1,200 if you come, you don't miss a day of work all year pretty much. So you still get the $800, but you have to be present or be at your campus, I guess, working with your students every day. So you can make $1,200, yes, ma'am. Good question. It's on page 37. It's page 37, it's the last page. Anything, question?
Yes, I do. The procedures for job classification reviews, well, actually the 2.4 right above it where it says salary adjustments for job reclassifications on page 3. When we do reclassify, and you talk about demotions, is that going to be I guess it's, when we approve it, is it going to be effective tomorrow? Is that supposed to occur?
So if we approve it for this year, so if come tomorrow, we have to, or after the approval, right? If we have to, I guess, somebody's getting demoted, yes. And it's, yes, if we have to demote, if somebody is getting demoted, is that what you're saying?
Right, because it would say on there, if it gets reclassified, the position gets reclassified, in essence,
Now, yes.
motion, so.
So that's how it's, so for instance, we have, you know, like let's say we have someone who was in central office, want to go back as, to be, let's say, a school administrator or something like that, right? So, because it depends on where they stand as far as the pay scale, I guess, or pay grade, it may be considered demotion, and we have to use that formula in that case. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes.
Okay. So, well, by the way, we did not make these changes to those, like they're on page 3. Those are standards. Anything else? Ms. Cancino, you want to add, or anybody want to add?
How are we handling comp time?
The comp time for,
I think I saw that on.
it says, yes, we have it here. So,
Overtime comes.
so it depends. It depends on the type of contract, if there's a contract. So if you're at 12 months or 11 months, it depends. You have to be.
Depends if you're exempt or non-exempt.
Exempt,
So for
exactly.
our exempt employees, we keep comp time, but the district has the option to pay as well. It's in district policy to do one or the other. Comp time is preferred for our non-auxiliary personnel. For our auxiliary, our hourly, which is your food service, custodial maintenance, bus drivers, they're on OT. But our clerks and our instructional aides, it's primarily comp time. And then if they, depending on the timing, if you ask somebody to come in during Christmas break, for example, and work that because it's being a holiday, then for those we do pay.
Does it have to be approved in advance, or?
Yes,
By the
yes,
supervisor?
yes, it has to be approved by the supervisor.
Yeah, so just add a teacher.
Is there any questions?
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you speak to this one, the state accountability stipend,
Yes.
Met alternative standards? Yeah.
Yes, so Met standards, the new accountability system has to be a C, a B, or an A. A D, it's a needs of improvement, and so it's not considered, D or an F is not considered meet standards, it has to be a C, B, or an A. However, we go on, as I said, beyond, so if you, as a leader of that campus, you got an A campus, or A rating campus, then you get on top of that $2,000 stipend. Your CS, your AP, if you have an AP, will get $1,000, and all our teachers at that campus will get a $500 stipend.
So it's that plus the next
Plus, yes,
for the eight?
yes.
You had perfect attendance and stipend.
Perfect attendance,
The
see?
rates.
Exactly.
Totals up to.
Yes, I said the numbers correct.
Good year.
That's right, it's all about getting the job done with our students and being there for them. And we want to acknowledge their efforts.
Just one last question, and I don't know if it's the last question, but one question for me is the wellness program, campus facilitators. Because we do have that in our health program, is that in addition to the health program that we have already?
So we did, that's not in addition, sir. We had that stipend. We had that stipend in here in the compensation plan, even last year and previous year. I don't know if you want to talk more about that, Ms. Ibarra, but about the stipend for the wellness program.
Yes, so each campus gets to elect a representative from the campus, and they get the stipend because they promote wellness within that campus. We used to have, prior to this stipend, we used to have the district nurse coordinate all of that, but then we went to the campus level.
Well, I guess it goes back to the health part of that. If the district's covering that cost, so we're using additional funds to cover a wellness program in addition to that, to facilitate.
To promote wellness within the campus.
Well, that's my question though. But-
Yes.
So-
It's in addition to, it's separate from, the part from our medical.
So how, okay, I guess how we're tying that effort, I mean, again, if we're covering the cost, and then we're paying someone to facilitate the process,
So in other words, it's duplicated,
it becomes a duplicated effort.
duplicated
I'm
effort.
just-
And how do you gauge, is it working or not working?
I can speak to what a wellness program campus facilitator is. This is something that was an initiative by the state of Texas through TEA, and what it is we can have a teacher or an administrator who's in charge of promoting wellness within the campus, whether it's creating a Pilates class for after school for teachers, or for doing a fun run. So that person is like a sponsor or an organizer for that specific campus to do healthy activities within the campus.
So I think what probably you're asking, Mr. Perez, is we need to set expectation and standardize. If we're paying $1,000, we need to have for that. We need to validate and be sure that these are the criteria. So yes, make sure you organize one fun run per year. Make sure that you have this or that done in order for you to earn that stipend.
It'll be to you, obviously. I mean,
Yes.
we just make sure that,
Of course.
we're addressing those, because we're promoting wellness as part of the district, and somebody has to respond to that.
No, it's a great question, and yes, sir, we'll definitely make sure that's happening like that.
Do the campuses have to maintain a log where teachers or staff members are attending?
Typically, yes, and there would be a district expectation to turn that in every semester. But yes, it would be a monthly log of what event took place.
Definitely, we can definitely work on that, yes, sir. So we're asking for, if you're okay, if you have any questions,
Exciting.
asking for your approval on
Make a
approval
motion
of
we
that.
approve.
A second.
Favor?
Favor?
Favor.
In favor? Mr. Guerrero made the motion.
Shall I make the motion?
Thank you.
Second by Ms.
The
Daly.
second by De Los Rios. How do you vote, Dr. Berry?
Favor? Favor.
Favor.
In favor?
Also vote in favor, motion passes. Second, approval to adopt official budget for 2019 and 2020.
You have it here before you, when we went over, it's there on page number 2. You have the proposed budget for the 3 funds, general fund, food service fund, and the debt service fund, for your consideration and approval.
Your motion we accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Motion made by Mr. Rivera, second by Dr. Berry. Mr. De Los Rios.
Favor?
Favor?
In favor?
In favor.
Also vote in favor, motion passes. Number 3, approval of resolution to adopt official tax rate for 2019 and 2020.
It's also here in the same booklet, it's the second page or the third page, where it has the rate maintenance and operation for M&O, $684 1.0684, there is no doubt about the zero. The tax rate for interest and sinking is at 0.1583 for a total tax rate of 1.2267 for the 1920 school year.
Is there a motion?
I make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Dr. Valdez, second by Dr. Mary. Mr. De Los Rios.
All in favor?
In favor?
Favor?
Favor.
I also vote in favor, motion passes. 4, approval of certified appraisal rolls for 2019.
You have it in your packet. Any questions on the tax rate?
Is there a motion?
I make the motion to approve.
Motion made by Dr.
A second.
Valdez. Second by Mr. De Los Rios.
Favor?
Okay, yeah, then I'll go. Favor?
Favor.
In favor?
In favor.
You did first, no, you did second.
That's right.
Okay. The next item, this item was proposed by Mr. De Los Rios. Consideration and possible action to terminate legal service agreement and provide termination notice to President General Counsel for Don ISD. Mr. De Los Rios.
Yes, ma'am, I did put this item on the agenda. I know that we have some new current board members, we have a new superintendent, we have some new administrators, and I just wanted to see if we go out for RFQs and see if we can, see what else is out there in legal service, pretty much.
Can you say more why, what's the emphasis, or do you feel like you're having issues now with our current legal service?
I mean, honestly, Ms. Reyna, I just feel that we go out there and look, we're only going to be here a year, so, as a board member, we can put those items on the agenda.
Yeah, we can go look, I'm just saying, we can go look and go out for RFQs without termination.
Yeah.
So why the termination?
Obviously, we're looking for new services, that's what I proposed. So, me as a board member, I can place that item on the agenda, and that's what I recommend.
I'm not arguing whether or not you put it on the agenda. I'm trying to understand why not just go out for RFQs without termination?
Because we're still eventually going to have to terminate if we keep them or we don't. So I make the motion to approve.
I second.
So one other thing,
Motion's been
no, I still need to have a discussion.
Okay, go ahead.
So a couple things, I think as a board member, I really need to be informed before I make votes on something, to do my research, to understand the issues, to really understand what's going on, And that takes some time, especially if we're thinking about a contracted position. Given, we got our agenda Saturday, and then there was no rationale on the agenda item. There was no supporting documents. So one, we have some things in place and procedures that help us make informed decisions. One of those is we get items 7 days in advance of a board meeting. That didn't happen. And then the second thing is that we ask others to follow procedures, which is to include rationale and supporting evidence. Therefore, we as board members we should follow the same procedure. So those things not happening and just getting a blank paper saying we're going to terminate our legal services came out of the blue. And I think we as a board need to be following the same procedures that we ask other staff, administration to follow. So I don't think we have the information right now as a board to make this decision, because we actually, with this agenda item, have not followed Lone Star governance framework.
And explain that framework, Alicia, because it goes back to us and adopting a policy between all of us, which we have not discussed. And I think that's something that we need to go forward. We have not discussed board procedures as of yet. And that's one of the items that we've mentioned to make sure that we all are in sync. The items on the floor, it was open for discussion, regardless of how, a perspective we look at it. I think, again, the item's there. Once we figure out as a board procedures, I think that's when we can outline our services to each one of us.
So I'm just thinking specifically under structure for the Lone Star governance framework. It says they would be getting materials 7 days in advance of the board meeting, and that's what we had been doing. And then the other process was to actually give rationale, supporting documentation. That's been going on for a long time. And neither one of those things were followed. And so when you ask about the Lone Star Governance Framework, I'm thinking specifically what is stated in the structure part.
Right, and to follow up on that, it's like, okay, how have we been using, like, our legal service? Have we had any new lawsuits, or the cost, you know, because before I came on board, you know, if you go back 3 years, we don't have that information, but I remember looking at the accounts payable for the previous 3 months prior to me being on the board, and we were spending like $50,000 a month on legal services, and now we're spending, I guess Ms. Cancino could give us more or less an update, maybe 20,000 more or less
A month?
a month.
It ranges depending on what
How
it was,
often
but
we
it's
utilize
less
legal
than,
services, but
it's
not-
around 20,000.
But it's nowhere near like the previous 3 years or 2 years that it was 50,000, 60,000. I remember one month was 74,000.
Actually, from 2017 to about 2018, a year and a half, it was 647,000. That was
Right,
paid
but
to that law firm.
We had to do a lot of grievances that have been like 3, 4 years old. We had so many meetings. I know the TA, Ms. Romero's can be one of the questions we were asked is, why are you having so many meetings? And there were a lot of grievances. Ms. Watts, we had meetings like every week. We had to use a lot of legal services to deal with old lawsuits, a lot of grievances. And yes, we were doing a lot of catch-up. So, but again, that's where we get the facts. To be able to, I mean, yes, everybody's entitled to put an item on the agenda, but I feel like I want to have more information before just saying, well, you know, for whatever reason,
I'm just curious, Alicia, because you brought up the idea of the Lone Star governance, that we're supposed to receive procedures. Actually, for special board meetings, it's 3 days in advance. It's regular board meetings, that is 7 to 10 days. But I didn't see you question why we didn't get the compensation plan ahead of time, item number 1. I didn't see you question why we didn't get number 2, the adopted budget. We just received those today also. So I'm just curious why you would not have a concern with the others, and with this one you would.
Yeah, so because those things that are things that we have been working on, we've had workshops on, those are not surprises at all. Like, I know what to expect because we've seen multiple iterations of those things over several months, and all the way back to the TASB study, the compensation plan, those weren't surprises at all. So, you know, some updates here and there, but those things are not new. This is like a totally brand new, you know.
Right, but the Lone Star governance doesn't make exceptions to items. I think it says all items, regardless of what they are, must be received 10 days in advance. I don't see anywhere in the Lone Star framework where it makes exceptions to certain items.
Well, it does mention, Dr. Valdez.
It says that board memberships receive the final version of materials to be voted on at least 7 calendar days in advance of the board authorized public meeting, which could be a special meeting, regular meeting, during which the materials would be considered.
Correct. So in other words, what I'm saying, like for the compensation plan, we just got it today, like at the meeting, so.
I'm just telling you what structure says. I have nothing to
But
do with it.
again, those are things that are not brand new,
We need to move on.
and they're things that we have continued to look at. I still don't understand so Mr. De Los Rios, are you saying that you don't have any issues currently with our current legal counsel?
Ma'am, if I did or didn't, I don't have to answer that to you. We're in the same capacity here.
But why
And
wouldn't you
then
be able to
again,
answer that?
Like I said, we're in the same capacity, so we can discuss that in executive. There's a motion on the floor, we need to move on.
But this item is in open for discussion for this reason.
Well, I already discussed it and gave you my answer, ma'am.
So I'm gonna go back to the fact that the way this was put on the agenda, did actually not follow the same procedures that we ask other people to do. I don't have the information to be able to make an informed decision. I have no documentation on what the issues are. If we wanna go out for RFQs, let's go out for RFQs and see what's out there. But that is separate issue than asking for termination. So to me, when I see termination, that to me says there's some issue with current legal, and I, as a board member, would want to know if fellow board members have seen or experienced issues with our current legal.
Now, the other question I have is, if we terminate legal services tonight, are we gonna be without legal services?
No, because their contract, I think, gives them a 30-day notice.
It's a 60-day notice.
60-day notice.
Correct.
As per their contract.
I don't know what, I don't know what the issues are. If the issue is cost, we might need to look at not just going out for RFQs, but what if we bring in someone in-house? If the issue is about finances, then we need to look at all options, not just assume we should go out for RFQs.
Well, Alicia, if you look at item number 6, that's why we're going out for RFQs, request for qualifications, to test the market and see what's out there. I don't see anything wrong with going and testing the market to look out for what is in the best value for our school district as it relates to legal.
That's one issue. I'm talking about the termination. You don't have to terminate current legal counsel in order to go out for RFQs.
Is there a motion?
I second the motion.
Motion made by Mr. De Los Rios, second by Dr. Valdez.
I'm against.
I'm against.
In favor?
In favor, motion passes.
Against, I think the board should recognize the kind of
I
actions that
think
you
we already
are
took a
doing.
vote on that. Ms.
Move on to the next
We have to move on to the next item, it has been voted on. Thank you. Number 6, consideration and possible action to seek RFQs for legal services for Donna ISD. Is there a motion?
Make the motion approved.
I second.
Motion made by Mr. De Los Rios, second by Dr. Valdez.
Against.
Against.
Approved?
Against,
In favor, motion passes. Number 3, consent agenda. Any discussion or any clarification? Then I need a motion.
Make the motion approved.
I second.
Motion made by Mr. De Los Rios, second by Dr. Valdez.
Favor?
Favor.
in favor,
Favor.
On the motion, and also vote in favor, motion passes. The time is 6:31. We are going to executive session. That's authorized by Texas Government Code Section 551.071, 2.073, 0.074, 0.075, 0.076, 0.082, 0.083, and 0.084. Going into executive session. The time is 9:05 p.m. Open session, take possible action on matters discussed in executive session. A, discussion and possible action to approve superintendent's recommendation of personnel.
I make the motion approved.
Motion made by Mr. De Los Rios,
I second.
second by Dr. Valdez.
Favor.
in favor,
Favor?
Favor.
In favor, motion passes. Approval of recommendation for professionals, paraprofessionals, and auxiliary personnel.
I make the motion.
Motion made by Dr. Valdez,
Second.
second by Mr. De Los Rios.
in favor,
Favor?
Favor.
Favor.
In favor. Approval of recommendation for proposed non-renewal of term contract, no action. Approval of recommendation for proposed termination of probationary contract, no action. Approval of recommendation for Chapter 21 term and probationary contract renewals, no action. B, discussion and possible action regarding resolution case number C4068-18-G, Matthew Rokovich versus Donna ISD, as discussed in executive session.
I make the motion.
Motion made by Dr. Valdez, second by Mr. De Los Rios.
in favor,
Favor.
Favor?
Abstained.
I also vote in favor, motion passes. C, discussion and possible action regarding proposed non-renewal of term contract of Francis Chapa, is discussed in executive session.
want us to make a motion.
Yeah, that's what, is there a motion?
Against or for?
I make the motion against the proposed non-renewal.
I second.
Motion made by Dr. Valdez, second by Mr. De Los Rios.
Favor?
Favor?
Also voting in favor, motion passes. And Dr. Mary?
Favor.
Motion passes.
I'm going to vote against.
Motion still passes. Discussion and possible action regarding potential resolution of Cardinal Cordova versus Donna ISD is discussing executive session. Need a motion.
I abstain.
I abstain, also conflict of interest.
I move that we accept it.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Bel Guerrero, second by Alicia Reina.
Favor.
Favor?
And I also vote in favor, motion passes. Discussion and possible action to approve pending or undertake litigation, settlement matters, and or matters where the professional duty under state board requires private consultation with the school attorney.
We, in that, under that item, we discussed a letter that was sent to Texas Education Agency, sent on Wednesday, August 21st. I wasn't notified that this letter was sent until Friday, is when I received the email, that this letter was already sent to TA. I had never seen the letter, never seen a draft of the letter, nor did I have an opportunity to even know that the letter was going out. I think the letter is great, there's great information in here, but there's some inaccuracies. First of all, the first statement is, on behalf of Donna ISD, we submit the following requests and supporting data for your consideration and possible action. Donna ISD respectfully requests consideration that its board be allowed to govern without the direct oversight of a conservator. Donna ISD believes there is substantial and compelling rationale for you to consider removing the conservator. When I read this and it says behalf of Donna ISD, I think of myself as a board member that is a part of Donna ISD, and for this to go out with me, I've never even having the opportunity to look at it, read it, or even know it was going out, I think it's inaccurate to say it's on behalf of Donna ISD. It's actually on behalf of a board member.
Ms. Reina, you're out of line. That document was not even supposed to be discussed today. I don't know why it's being discussed now. It was not part of the item. If you want to do it, you can address it the next time we come back around for this next session.
You put in your email.
And I also agree, Ms. Reina, you're out of line.
You put it in your email, Mr. Perez, that we can discuss this in executive session today. You wrote an email.
Executive, I didn't say to open it up. Did you make a motion? No.
As a board member, I have the right to share whatever I would like to in open session after we get out of executive. That is my right as a board member.
Let's not discuss the details of what we discussed in executive.
Absolutely.
We just need to keep it.
That's all I wanted to say about that.
Okay, no action. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn meeting?
Motion made by Dr. Valdez.
Second.
Second by Mr. De Los Rios. Dr. Mary?
Favor?
In favor?
In favor?
I also vote in favor, motion passes, meeting adjourned.